Hey everyone, so today I want to do another deck profile video, but this deck I have not tested yet. It's just an idea that I thought would be really fun, so I want to make a video about it now. But then this actual idea of mine won't really come into fruition until BT10. You can run a similar deck to it, but BT10 is where this idea came from. So basically what I want to do was I want to find a way to break Mother D Reaper. So one of the most popular ways to use Mother D Reaper in a way that's not as intended is to just splash Mother D Reaper in a yellow deck and just run a bunch of Spiral Masquerades. Like when I heard about this idea, I thought that was like really interesting. So I did not create this deck, the one that I found to be a really good example of a deck that splashes in Spiral Masquerade and D Reaper. But this deck is by HV. They call it the LordKnightmon Deck. It was created or published online in February this year. They got first place in a Japan tournament. So basically, the deck that they're running, they are just splashing in Mother D Reaper. They're not playing a D Reaper deck. They're playing a yellow hybrid deck, but they're just splashing in Mother D Reaper mainly to get bodies on board. So turn 1, hatch an egg. Turn 2, promote Mother D Reaper. Turn 3, hatch an egg. Turn 4, promote Mother D Reaper. So every 2 turns, you have a large, almost really unmovable Digimon that your opponent just has a really hard time removing. So they can remove it, but it's just otherwise really hard to remove. It's basically a permanent that just stays on the board. But you get this large Mother D Reaper, every 2 turns you get another one. They aren't playing many yellow rookies because, again, they don't have any eggs that they can digivolve off of. Starmons is there. Starmons benefits off of having multiple Mother D Reapers, so just having it benefits off of having multiple Digimon. So just having a bunch of Mother D Reapers, increasing your Digimon count, you can decrease more DP than usual. So it's on play, one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 1000 DP for the turn for each Digimon you have in play. So obviously, because Mother D Reaper is just really hard to remove, you're going to have a bunch of Mother D Reapers and of course your other Digimon out. So when you on-play Starmons, you can delete Digimon with low DP. Or it's not even that hard to increase the DP count because of the Mother D Reapers. And then of course they have Crusadermon. So during all turns for each of your other Digimon, this Digimon gets 1000 DP. So because of the many D Reapers that you will have, you're going to have a lot of DP from your other Digimon, including Mother D Reaper. So this is just a really cool deck that I found. I am running this deck for BT8, Tactical Retreat, to combo off of Gatekeeper, Gatekeeper to combo off of Mother D Reaper, Spiral Masquerade, to count how many Digimon you have, and then for each Digimon you have, you activate the following effect. One of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 3000 DP for the turn. So just because you are running a bunch of Mother D Reapers, you're going to have a bunch of bodies on the field, and you are going to be able to activate Spiral Masquerade as many times as you activate the effect of Spiral Masquerade as many times as you have Digimon on the field. So this is just a really solid deck. It really showcases how you can break Mother D Reaper by not using it as intended, just like for the purpose of having more Digimon on board, comboing with Spiral Masquerade, Starmons, LordKnightmon, Tactical Retreat with the Gatekeeper. It's a pretty solid deck in my opinion. So again, that was the deck that I want to showcase. So of course, that's like the most obvious way that people know how to break Mother D Reaper. That's like pretty much what you think about how can we abuse Mother D Reaper in a way that isn't really in a D Reaper deck, but we make use of her useful ability not to be affected by opponents' effects and her semi-permanence to stay on the board. So that was the obvious example. Spiral Masquerade, LordKnightmon, Crusadermon, Gatekeeper. So I came up with this idea. So Mother D Reaper can be affected by your own effects. So of course that includes Digisorption. So if you have a bunch of Mother D Reapers on board, it means that you basically have free Digimon that you can Digisorption off of, and you have very little drawback, because since Mother D Reaper can't attack anyways, it doesn't really matter to you that much if Mother D Reaper is suspended. And in this deck, having a suspended Mother D Reaper can actually be a boon instead of a bane. So basically, Mother D Reaper is used for Digisorption. You use Samadhi Santhi to suspend Mother and one of your opponent's Digimon. So basically, a 1-cost card that has very little drawback to you, but you prevent your opponent from attacking with their Digimon their next turn, or blocking with it this turn, which is really useful for just one memory. Spiral Masquerade comboing off of your Mother count, and Cherrymon in BT10 to force opponent to crash into Mother or into Kogamon's Inheritable, which is really good because in BT10 we have this really great Cherrymon for this deck. So this was my first prototype. Again, these decks are not fully completed. This is just the idea that I had in mind. I'm going to revise this deck come BT10, and I'm going to make a follow-up video of like what changes I've made to this deck and how I've updated it according to the meta. So this is prototype 1. I also have prototype 2. But prototype 1, I just threw in Palmon BT1. On play, reveal 3 cards from the top of your deck. Add 1 level 4 Digimon card among them to your hand, which is okay. It's not as good as the Betamon's ability, but it is used because it is vegetation. Palmon BT10, on play, reveal the top 4 cards of your deck, add 1 card with vegetation or plant in its traits, and 1 card with fairy and its traits among them to your hand. Place the rest on the bottom of your deck in any order. So since this Palmon is vegetation, the BT10 Palmon can search for it, which is pretty nice. You are running a handful of vegetation Digimon in this deck, so it's pretty nice to be able to draw into them. Betamon, it has a better effect than the previous Palmon. So it reveals the top 3 cards of your deck, add 1 green level 4 Digimon or 1 green Tamer among them to your hand. So with this Betamon, you also have the option of running a green Tamer. So it is useful for getting Ken Ichijoji or the upcoming BT9 TK Takaishi and Izzy Izumi. But the drawback is that it's not vegetation, so it can't be searched for with the BT10 Palmon. So I prefer the BT1 Palmon. I figured that since I'm trying to break Mother D Reaper's large semi-permanence on the board, I want to throw in Digisorption. So I'm running this Argomon level 4, Digisorption -2. It costs 2 to Digivolve. So for example, turn 1, hatch a Mother, and then play one of your rookies. Turn passes to your opponent. Turn 2, promote out Mother D Reaper. And then now that you have a Mother D Reaper on board, you can now Digivolve onto your rookie with Argomon, suspending the Mother D Reaper. And because it's suspended, it Digivolves for free. So whatever free memory you have, you can Digisorption into your higher level 5s off of your level 4 that just came into play. And then you can Digivolve into your level 6. So a turn 2 level 6 sounds pretty good to me. It is suspended, but it's just an example play of what you could do. The Kiwimon, on play for 4. Reveal 3 cards from the top of your deck. Add all Digimon cards of Digisorption among them to your hand. Place the remaining cards at the bottom of your deck in any order. So I am on the lighter side for rookies. I'm only playing 10 rookies. So basically everything in this deck that is a Digimon is either on play or Digivolving. I said that really weirdly. So the rookies are all on play. Everything else besides Kiwimon is Digivolving. Kiwimon is cheap enough that you want to unplay it. I want to make the screen bigger, but there's like a huge thing covering my screen for some reason, so I can't. So I apologize if you have difficulty reading the effects. But stepping beyond that, since Kiwimon is so cheap, it's only 4 costs for a level 4. You want to unplay it to add all the Digisorption Digimon that you reveal into your hand. So I think that this is basically a pseudo rookie. You don't really need more rookies because since you're on playing Kiwimon, it serves the function that a rookie would serve. So that's why I'm running 10 rookies and why Kiwimon is like in here. You don't want to Digivolve off of Kiwimon too often. You often want to on-play Kiwimon. Since I am playing a bunch of Digisorption Digimon, you will have a pretty good chance of revealing 1, 2, or 3 of them, and then adding whatever you reveal to your hand. Kogamon, I'm throwing into this deck because it has the Retaliation Inheritable, which is very useful, because if you recall, the BT10 Cherrymon, it does have Digisorption, which means that it fits right into this deck. But once per turn, when an opponent's Digimon attacks, you may switch the target of attack to one of your suspended Digimon. So this is very useful. So because your Digisorption is mainly based off your Mother D-Reapers, a 15,000 DP Digimon, by Digisorption, you suspend Mother D-Reaper. And then when you get to BT10 Cherrymon, because Mother D-Reaper is suspended, you can force your opponent, when they attack, to swing into Mother D-Reaper, 15,000 DP. So you have a huge 15,000 DP blocker, pretty much. So you might be thinking, what if they have a huge Digimon over 15,000 DP? This is where Kogamon comes into play. So if they have a Black War Greymon, or if they have a Tyrannomon, Marsmon, whatever they have that can swing into Mother D-Reaper and live. Technically, it doesn't have to swing unsuspended because you're basically suspending Mother D-Reaper anyways. But if they have something huge, 15,000 DP or higher, that you want to delete, this is what Kogamon is for. So Kogamon's Inheritable Retaliation. You want to get a level 5 on top of Kogamon, preferably Argamon or Blossomon, because they Digisorption for 3, so they evolve for free. Kogamon, you want to be suspended, or like whatever is on top of Kogamon to be suspended. So if they have a huge 15,000 plus Digimon in play, you want it to be deleted. Force them to swing into Kogamon. You know what I mean, the Kogamon Inheritable Digimon. So they will have to either have their Digimon be deleted if they swing, or they just cannot attack you. They're not in a good position to attack you. They probably don't want to lose their level 5s, level 6s. Honestly, they're probably level 6s, level 7s. They don't want to lose those Digimon by swinging into you, so it stalls your opponent out. So if Kogamon's Digimon on top of it is deleted, then your opponent's Digimon that attacked into it or is attacked by it is also deleted, which is really good with this BT10 Cherrymon. The Argamon, the Blossomon, the Blossomon, they Digisorption for -3, So basically, they cost 0 to Digivolve if you are able to Digisorption and reduce Digivolution cost. The Argamon has this added effect. When attacking, you may play a 1 green level 3 Digimon card from your hand suspended without paying its memory cost, which is pretty cool. Like, it's a great effect. It's there for you to Digivolve for free, but it's a bonus that has an inheritable effect. So it's just nice, and it became even more nice that has that effect. Level 6, I decided to run another Digisorption Digimon, so then it can be searched for with Kiwimon, and also because you still want to suspend your Mother D Reapers as often as possible once you get Cherrymon out. So as soon as you get Cherrymon out, you would preferably like the Cherrymon to stay on board, and then create a separate chain into your level 6s. Cherrymon's out, Mother D Reaper suspended, your opponent can't really attack you, you have a huge blocker, and then you swing with your Argamon, for example. For each of your other suspended Digimon, this Digimon gains security attack +1. So because you're playing a bunch of Digisorption cards, your other Digimon are likely to be suspended, preferably Mother D Reaper, so you are able to get several security attacks in. Rosemon, just because I wanted to add a fairy to this deck, and also because I want a Digisorption Digimon. When Digivolving, if you have a Tamer in play, one of your opponent's Digimon can't attack or block until their next turn. So it does, it's kind of a flex spot. It stalls your opponent out or allows you to stun their blocker so you can get in for game. Spiral Masquerade to combo off of the Mother D Reaper, like in the aforementioned segment where I talked about the Japanese list that use Spiral Masquerade. Samadhi Santhi, again, main, you may suspend one of your Digimon to suspend one of your opponent's Digimon or Tamers. Your opponent's cards suspended with this effect can't unsuspend until the end of their next turn. This is a very useful effect with very little drawback, considering that you're most likely using this on Mother D Reaper. So basically, Mother D Reaper can't attack. Having it unsuspended doesn't really do much for you anyways. Suspend Mother D Reaper, you won't really lose much from it. If your opponent has a higher DP Digimon than it, and it can delete Mother D Reaper, I mean, go ahead. You aren't using Mother D Reaper as your win con anyways. By then, you probably have a couple other Mother D Reapers in play too. So losing a Mother D Reaper doesn't really hurt you. Like, this isn't actually a D Reaper deck. A D Reaper deck, you want your Mother D Reaper to live. This is a green deck that I'm splashing in Mother D Reaper. So if they want to attack Mother D Reaper because it's suspended and they have over 15,000 DP, yeah, okay. I mean, it doesn't hurt your win con. At that point, you probably have a level 6 and other high level Digimon in play. So this has very little drawback to you. You suspend one of your Mother D Reapers. Essentially, it costs you very little. And you suspend one of your opponent's Digimon or Tamers. They don't unsuspend until the end of their next turn. So even if they have an effect that would unsuspend their Digimon, they cannot unsuspend at all. It's not just an unsuspend phase effect, it's during the entire turn that they cannot unsuspend. Kenichi Joji, this was kind of a flex spot. So I want to get more memory to advance my plays more. So I thought, Kenichi Joji, I'm playing basically mono green with a splash of yellow and technically white, but all my Digimon in this deck are green, so they're the only Digimon that are attacking. When one of your green or blue Digimon deletes an opponent's Digimon in battle and survives, you may suspend this Tamer to gain 1 memory. So it's just there to allow me to play more cards in a turn, which is pretty cool. Because I am running a bunch of Digisorption Digimon and a bunch of Mother D Reapers for them to Digisorption from, I'm going to expect to be able to draw cards a lot from the Digivolution bonus. Suspend a Mother D Reaper, decrease Digivolution bonus to either 1 or free, and then just basically keep Digivolving. This deck just keeps Digivolving for very little, so you're going to advance your deck. The memory cost is there for you to be able to play more cards. So this deck, I'm going to expect it to cycle through itself really quickly. TK Takaishi Izzy Izumi. It's a tamer that's just there mainly for the yellow splash. Start of your turn, if you have a level 5 or higher Digimon in play, gain 1 memory. If your opponent has a level 5 or higher Digimon in play, gain 1 memory from that. Your turn effect, one of your Digimon digivolves into a yellow or green Digimon. You may suspend this tamer to have one of your opponent's Digimon get minus 1000 DP until the end of your opponent's turn. So this effect isn't too great. I mean, it is good if your opponent has a weak Digimon that you want to decrease by 1000 DP, so then you are able to swing over it with one of your other green Digimon. But you're not really using this for the minus DP effect. It could be useful, but mainly you're just there for the slight memory gain, and also because it's yellow, so you can use Spiral Masquerade because of that. And I also chose it because it's green, so it can be searched with Betamon should it come up. So yeah, this is basically the prototype 1 of my Mother D Reaper deck. So these three Digimon are all searchers. They're just there to advance your card draw. Argomon, Cherrymon, Argomon, Blossommon, Argomon, Rosemon, they're all Digisorption cards. Kiwimon searches for your Digisorption cards, and it's cheap, so I just threw it in there. It just made sense to throw it in there. Kogamon is there just in case you want to delete something troublesome or hold your opponent in a standstill where they don't really want to attack into you, because if they attack into your Digimon and then Kogamon is under it, then because of retaliation they're going to be deleted. Cherrymon, just forcing them to attack into whatever is on top of Kogamon or into your suspended Mother D Reaper. This card is really good for this deck, so it's just a really good piece to have. Argomon, Blossommon for basically a free level 5 to digivolve into. Argomon, you're playing a bunch of Digisorption, so your other Digimon are going to be Digisorptioned. So you are going to get the extra security attacks. You're guaranteed like 1 extra security attack because you're Digisorption into Argomon. Rosemon to just stun your opponent, and because it's a fairy, so I just threw it in there to be searched with the BT10 Palmon. Spiral Masquerade for cheap removal. Samadhi Santhi, really good for stalling your opponent for 1 turn, or for getting their blocker out of the way so you can swing for game. For 1 cost, this is really good. The drawback to you in this deck is very minimal. Because you're playing Mother D Reaper, the cost to suspend your Digimon is basically negligible. Because Mother D Reaper can't attack anyways, it's basically just there to serve as a medium for you to suspend for Digisorption and Samadhi Santhi. So there is basically no cost associated from suspending your Digimon. It's basically just a 1 memory, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon. It doesn't unsuspend during the next turn, or suspend one of your opponent's tamers. It doesn't unsuspend during their next turn. That's basically what it is in this deck. Kenichi Joji, just to advance your plays, to extend your plays, I mean. Same thing for TK Takaishi and Izzy Izumi, mainly just to extend your plays and also to serve as a yellow tamer on board for you to be able to Spiral Masquerade. So there are some options that you can consider in this deck. Cherrymon BT2 is an obvious example. It's a level 5 blocker. It's vegetation, so it can be searched for with the BT10 Palmon as well. It has blocker, so if you want a more reliable way for you to stall out your opponent, causing them not to want to swing into you with their huge troublesome Digimon, Digivolve Cherrymon onto Kogamon. The Cherrymon BT2 blocker now has retaliation, so if they swing into you, you can just block and then get rid of their Digimon. So it puts them into a really weird position where they don't want to swing into it. You also have Pistmon, Digisorption 2. It's also vegetation. So I was thinking about this Digimon. I don't really think that I want it in the deck. Blossomon Digivolves for free. Pistmon Digivolves for 1, essentially. But Pistmon does have a benefit over Blossomon in that its inheritable gives your Digimon that's on top of it plus 1000 DP for each of your other suspended Digimon. So this could be useful, especially because Argomon only has 11,000 DP. So if you want Argomon to be buffier, Pistmon is the better choice, and I would remove Blossomon to fit in Pistmon. It really depends on how the BT10 meta is looking like. I'm not sure what cards are going to be run mainly in the BT10 meta, so it's going to be debatable which one's better, Blossomon or Pistmon. I would assume Pistmon's better. Losing 1 memory off of Digivolving isn't too bad compared to having a big buffier Digimon able to swing into your opponent's security. So I think Pistmon is the way to go, but it really depends on what the meta looks like then. Takamiya and Karikamiya from BT9 is also a pretty good card to consider. Start of your turn, if you have 3 or fewer security cards, gain 1 memory. If your opponent has 3 or fewer security cards, gain 1 memory. There's a yellow Karikamiya that does half of that. So it's better than the 3-cost yellow Karikamiya, in my opinion. Your turn, when one of your red or yellow Digimon attacks, you may suspend this tamer to have all of your opponent's security Digimon get minus 2000 DP for the turn. So you could run this. Another yellow tamer that you might want to consider is the 2-cost TK Takaishi from Star Deck 3. This seems like a weird thing to say, but you already have the memory gain from TK Takaishi and Izzy Izumi, the memory setting from Ken Ichijoji, so you might want to just throw in TK Takaishi from Star Deck 3. I don't know, remove 2 TK Takaishis and Izzy Izumis. It's 2 costs, it's cheaper, it gives all your security Digimon plus 2000 DP, so it might be a good option to consider if you want a tamer just for the yellow requirement for Spiral Masquerade. So you have several options there. This was prototype 1. It looks a little bit clunky for my tastes, so I created a prototype 2. So prototype 2, Digisorption Mother D Reaper Champions. There's no rookies in this deck. It occurred to me that running rookies was kind of a poor decision, especially since there's no Digi Eggs that you can Digivolve your rookies into. So why would I run rookies when I can basically skip the rookie step, go into my champions quicker, and because I'm going into my champions quicker, I can Digivolve all the way up into my megas quicker. So it occurred to me to just leave the rookies out of this prototype and just focus on cheap champions to run. So this is my champions build. The champions basically take the place of rookies. They're really cheap. I don't really care about the on-play that much. I just really want a cheap and quick way to advance to my megas, and rookies just seemed really, really redundant. So in this prototype 2, currently I'm running 4 red Vegiemon. It's just a 3 cost, 1 to Digivolve, 3000 DP Digimon. The 1 to Digivolve does not matter at all. But it's just a 3 cost level 4. There's also a Roachmon that's the same thing, but I just chose red Vegiemon just in case I want to run Veggie Tribal. Yeah, you are playing a bunch of vegetation, so red Vegiemon might be a good card for this deck, in case you want to run Vegetation Tribal. Kiwimon, again, it's a cheap level 4 on play for 4. Reveal top 3 cards, add all Digisorption cards to your hand. So, although it is more expensive than Roachmon, I think that its on play is good enough for it to be included in this deck. Parasaurmon, 3 costs, 5000 DP, vanilla, green champion. Sorry, I'm having an itch in my throat right now. The BT10 Cherrymon, as we've seen before, to to force your opponent to attack into your Mother D-Reaper. Argomon for free Digivolving into. Blossomon for free Digivolving into. Pistmon, just because I want to get my megas to be higher DP than in my last build. 3 copies of Bloom Lordmon. When Digivolving, I can suspend one of my Digimon. Then I gain 1 memory for each suspended Digimon with Vegetation, Plant, or Fairy in its traits. And then, if I gain 2 or more memory by this effect, unsuspend this Digimon, it gains Piercing for the turn. For every 2 suspended Digimon I have in play, this Digimon gets plus 2000 DP and gains Security Attack plus 1. So I am playing a bunch of vegetation. Sorry, I am having a really bad itch in my throat. So there's red Vegiemon, Cherrymon, and Pistmon. So not as many as the previous build, but I am running 10 others. No, actually Blossomon too. So I am running more. Now that I think about it, Argomon is not useful in this deck because I'm not playing any rookies. So I would just replace Argomon and just run a full playset of Blossomon. Just because it fulfills the vegetation requirement. So you are playing a decent amount of vegetation Digimon. So Bloom Lordmon will get the DP boost and the security attack boost, and also gain you a bunch of memory, hopefully. But you are probably going to gain some memory off of Bloom Lordmon Digivolving. Argomon's Digisorption 3. We've already been over this. We've been over these cards. Ice Wall. I wanted to throw in Davis Modemia because I want a blue Tamer in play so that I can play Hammer Spark to extend my plays. So with this deck, I want to be able to progress to my megas very quickly. And because of that, I want to play Hammer Sparks for free memory. Because Hammer Spark is blue, I decided to use Davis Modemia. Because although Davis is blue, his on-play ability: reveal the top 3 cards of your deck, add 1 blue and 1 green Digimon card among them to your hand, place the remaining cards at the bottom of your deck in any order. So even if I'm playing green, Davis is wonderful in green. Davis gives you the blue Tamer for you to be able to play blue options, but his effect is also really great in green. You reveal top 3, if you find a green Digimon, add it to your hand. Ice Wall for stalling out your opponent just in case. Takumi Aiba is just a flex card for now. I threw Takumi Aiba in here because I wanted the LOL of punishing my opponent for rookie rushing me when I'm playing a deck that has 0 rookies. So again, Takumi Aiba is just there currently for the LOLs. I think that he might be good, but it might be a better idea to throw in another blue tamer or so, just so I can have more consistency getting blue out for Hammer Spark or Ice Wall. Additionally, I might take out the 3 Takumis, add in another Davis, for example, and then with the 2 other Takumis I took out, I might throw in Megadeth, because Megadeth is just a really useful card. TK Takaishi and Izzy Izumi. We've been over that. It's mainly there for the yell requirement for Spiral Masquerade. Here are your options, or options that I have considered anyways. So I took out the Kogamon. Kogamon was kind of expensive to on-play. You aren't playing any rookies, so to be able to get Kogamon out, you have to on-play Kogamon. It's 5 to on-play, which isn't too horrible, but I didn't want to run Kogamon for now, because again, even if your opponent has a huge Digimon in play, and then they swing into your Mother D Reaper, it doesn't really hurt your game plan. So, although the retaliation is really nice, you don't really need to have your huge opponent's Digimon be deleted, because it really doesn't hurt you. By the time that they get it out, you're already pretty good on your board. So I don't think that Kogamon is that useful. If you want to splash Kogamon in, I would take out the Parasaurmon. Parasaurmon is not vegetation, so it doesn't help with the Bloom LordKnightmon. So I would take out the Parasaurmon, throw in Kogamon if you want. Because you are playing Hammer Sparks, the 5 costs to on-play does not hurt too much. Sora Takenouchi and Jokito, just in case you want another blue tamer that is not Davis Motomiya. Cherrymon for the blocker, should you choose to run Kogamon, that is especially very good. Or even if you don't run Kogamon, it's just useful to have a level 5 that digivolves for 2, and it has blocker innately, so it's just a really useful card all around. But yeah, this was my prototype 2. Yeah, thanks for watching my deck profile video. I will, of course, adjust this deck as I see more of BT10, what the meta is looking like. But this is a pretty interesting card that I want to build. This is a pretty interesting deck that I want to build. The idea of forcing your opponent to swing into Mother D Reaper seems like such a fun idea to me. I don't know if people have came up with this idea yet, but this Cherrymon from BT10 makes it possible to have your Mother D Reaper suspended and benefit off of it being suspended. Like, this is useful. Mother D Reaper is already useful on the field, but now she has even more utility by serving as a giant 15,000 DP blocker. Using Spiral Masquerade to capitalize off of your Mother D Reapers, Samadhi Santi to also capitalize off of having Mother D Reaper suspending it, basically having 0 drawback to you, and then stalling your opponent for one of their Digimon for a full turn, or suspending their blocker to bypass them for a game. This is just a really good card in this deck. Davis Motomiya, pretty much there for the blue cost, for the blue requirement for options. It does help you in this deck. So I think that's a pretty solid tamer. I would take out Takumi Aiba's. He's just there for the lulz. I think that you would be better off running a 3rd Davis Motomiya and 2 Megadeths. Bloom LordKnightmon to capitalize off of your suspended vegetation Digimon. And then just getting extra DP and security attack. It costs little to digivolve into actually, if you actually manage to get memory gain off of it. It costs 4 to digivolve. It could cost maybe 2 to digivolve, 1 to digivolve, depending on how many vegetation you have in play. Because red Vegiemon is so cheap, you might have some in play, but it really depends on how I actually test this deck out. It seems really interesting to me having a deck with 0 rookies inside, having just Mother D Reaper for the bodies on board to suspend, for Sorrel Masquerade counts, for blocking purposes. It just seems like such a unique and fun deck. This again was prototype 1. I'm going to be posting these deck lists in the description, and of course you can see the deck on your own computer or your mobile device, or however you're watching this video. You can see it, you can adjust the screen for it to be bigger. This was my prototype 2. 0 rookies, just champions and above. This gets you into your megas quicker. I am considering running some level 7s in this deck, but again, I think that this deck is fine for now. Level 7s might be good, but I'm not sure how this deck is. I'm actually going to test it out soon after BT10 comes out, and then I'll adjust accordingly. But here's my prototype 2. I think that I like prototype 2 more than prototype 1, honestly. The Argamon's useless. Get rid of it, throw in another Blossomon for the vegetation Digimon, and you should be pretty good. Throw out Takumi Ibas for another Davis and 2 Megadefs. I think that's the move. Takumi Iba is good because you are evolving a lot, but I'm not sure how good it is in practice. I think that 3rd Davis would be more beneficial to you. But again, I will, of course, adjust this once BT10 comes out. So once again, thank you for watching my video. Feel free to leave me any of your thoughts and opinions, and I will see you in the next video.